think she liked doing things that would not be traceable, that people wouldn't come back and talk about. Which was a good business to be in at those days.
Her sister, she had the sister that brought her over from Norway. Her sister said she never had any children of her own.
Often wondered that. He worked during the day, and I had a father that worked nights and slept during the day. So knowing how that kind of a household is run, it's possible he knew very little to nothing. Intelligence would say he had to suspect something, but maybe he didn't. Maybe he just didn't want to believe it. I mean, your husband dies suddenly, and he has 2 insurance companies that she gets a double dose of insurance money, and they're not saying, well, okay. I don't know how she did that. Was she that charismatic, or was she that hysterical? Did she scream and cry and carry on and frighten everybody? I don't know. I'd love to know. Dr. Mueller.
Who was that?
He was a good friend of hers, and he was a friend of the family. Friend of the family being... Friend of the family, what's that? She knew him.
Didn't she live with him? Wasn't he a tenant?
He was a tenant for a while, yeah. And you can speculate how that went. He did the autopsy. He came up with the verdict they needed for his death, Motz's death. You know, he came in and said, yep, he died of a large heart. Didn't check toxicology in the stomach. They didn't, which they did in those days, you know. They could have seen that he'd been poisoned, but they didn't do it. And Motz's brother wanted to have another autopsy, wanted to have him exhumed and have another autopsy. It was like $300 or $400, and they couldn't afford it, so they didn't do it.
Belle Gunness brought a lot of attention to LaPorte many years ago, and so it was good for LaPorte in many ways, but also a lot of people don't like the attention of Belle Gunness because of the fact that she killed a lot of people. There still seems to be a lot of interest in it. She was in the Guinness Book of World Records for many years, and so that really helped to put LaPorte on the map as well. on McClung Road. And all the property you see on the right was property that belonged at one time to Belle Gunness. It was part of her farm. This should be the spot, as far as I know.
That was a highly suspicious death anyway, that a meat cleaver or a meat grinder fell on his head, and that that was as mysterious as phony a death as her first husband in Chicago. A meat grinder falls off his head, and he's supposedly gets up and feels okay for a while, but he's going to lay down for a while, and then next thing you know, the man's dead. But see, they couldn't prove anything. You know, they just couldn't, in those days you couldn't prove anything. So she got away with it again. The Gunness family thought that Belle was going to come after this young girl that was still living, and they thought they even saw her in a neighborhood by their house. So they took her to one of the relatives' farms, and just hid her away. And that's how they felt that she had, they thought maybe Belle would have tried to kidnap her, take her away somehow. She was clever. If you've read any of her letters, the postman would regularly visit her. She was always coming down to pick up the mail where he left it off, 1 to 4 letters every day, he said, almost. And his comment was that she seemed very disappointed, or irritated even, when there was nothing for him to deliver. But he was pretty busy going out there.
So she didn't kill them right away. Meet them at the train station, take them up to the house, feed them lovely Norwegian food and give them the whole homey thing, and the men were like bachelors. They're like, oh my God, this is wonderful.
She was exactly what she said she was in these newspapers. She was the owner of a 40-plus acre farm by herself. She had a very small mortgage. She had goats, she had pigs. She had for a single woman, she was a pretty good catch, with the exception that she was a little hefty. But anyway, they came out here. She said, bring all your money. And they didn't sometimes. They were looking, too. But I tell you, they spent one night with Belle, they went back, and they got their money.
So this is the First National Bank building. It's built in 1867, and this was the bank where the victims of Belle Gunness brought their money deposited in her account, this bank. And it's now a French restaurant called Café L'Amour.
Isn't it ironic?
The Café L'Amour, the cafe of love, and she lured these victims here for, was it for love or for money? I think it was for money.
And when she was ready to get rid of them, evidently she poisoned their food and then would go up in the night and hit them in the head with a hammer. A normal procedure.
What is it?
Well, this is a skull, and right here it says, found in outhouse, which is like the privy, on Gunness Farm. And look right here.
What's that?
I think it's a bullet hole. Or maybe it was made with an ice pick or something. I'm not sure. But we had an archaeologist here, and he said this was definitely Scandinavian forehead and stuff, that he could tell by looking at it that it was Scandinavian. So, kind of interesting.
Don't you know who it is?
Nope. We don't know who it is.
There were a lot of people that came here thinking that she had murdered one of their loved ones or relatives, and they were never found. So I don't know what parts she fed to them, or which people she fed to them.
She was very famous for the sausages, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, she was.
What do people of Laporte think about that?
The dog that ate the bone. That
Yeah, Styles. Styles? He ate the bone. And is eating garbage right now.
Styles. Come here. This is the dog that ate the bone. That
He's 2 years old.
dug up on the property.
He's actually 2 years old. That's why he's so small.
The only time I ever feel spooked is if I'm outside and it's dark out, or if my house is dark and I look outside and it's dark, you know. Just the whole, you know, you have in your head what happened here, you know. So you kind of, you look outside and you say, you know, I'd pee on myself if I saw something walking through my yard, you know. That wasn't an animal or real human. I'd be like, oh, okay, so then I don't look outside for very long. And